is a second part of me showcasing this book, Fancy A Cuppa, the hilarious pocket guide to British slang, by Jeff Watson. In the first video, we looked at the introduction and chapters 1, 2 and 3. And today we're going to continue from where we got to. Here we go. So, Chapter 4, Weather. The Brits' favourite obsession. English rain feels obligatory like paperwork. It's a good quote, and I can vouch for it, as I do live in Britain, and I do feel the weather every day. It's by Maureen Johnson, that quote. The weather, along with queuing, apologising and drinking tea. The other major fascination for Brits is the weather. Is it raining or has it dried out? Or have we seen the sun today? We had our summer last week is a typical way of saying that it's no longer remotely warm. It comes about because the UK is just about the wettest place on the planet. You can get all 4 seasons in one afternoon. So the British have always got one eye on the clouds that are permanently above, just waiting to open up and drench us all when we least expect it. For as long as the United Kingdom exists, the weather will always be a topic of conversation for us Brits. After all, what else could replace the awkward small talk that occurs when you're greeted by someone that you vaguely remember? You can see some of the inclement weather here. Clear at 9 a.m. By 9:01, it's starting to drizzle. By 9:02, you're caught in a storm. By 9:03, the sun's back out again, and you are there shell-shocked. Pissing it down. Raining, of course, but not just raining, but cats and dogs raining. Pissing it down is pretty obvious, but cats and dogs is almost unexplainable. But I'll try. It comes from the Greek saying katadoxa, which means waterfall. We anglicised it to cats and dogs, which sounds far better. So here are some of the quotes that we Brits say to talk about the weather. The heavens opened, pissing it down. It's chucking it down, pissing it down still. We can also say it's bucketing it down, or it's raining buckets. Baking hot, usually said when the temperature gets to about 21 degrees Celsius, or for you Americans about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Rarely is it baking in the UK. Miserable weather. There's never a happy weather. It's always miserable. Almost always refers to the rain pissing it down. Freezing. Snow and ice weather. Pour a kettle of hot water over the windscreen in the morning type weather. The kind that stops the trains from running. Although there can be many reasons for that. I'm drenched. You've been caught in the rain without a hat or an umbrella, and you're very wet. Drenched to make it seem far more Yes, it's true. The British love tea. They may no longer drink the stuff as much as they used to, but any excuse to stop what they are doing, to sit down and have a cuppa, is fine by them. I can vouch for this. I am a massive, massive fan of a good cup of tea. The tea break at work means just that. Take a break and have some tea. Even in cricket, the gentlest of English sports, and to you Americans the most incomprehensible, there is tea, which means the second break of play for the day, usually around 5 p.m. Tea, we love it. Fancy a cuppa. It's the same as fancy a pint, but not spoken in a pub. A cuppa is the one thing that binds people. So that's all the world's problems can be solved over a cup of tea. It's about the most British phrase ever, hence it's the title of this book. Put the kettle on doesn't mean to try to put a kettle on your body, but put it on the hob, the gas ring or the electric plate. More commonly now is to just switch it onto the mains and wait for the water to boil. There is no more satisfying sound than a kettle that whistles as it boils. Let's have a natter. Always at a kitchen table with a strong cup of tea. Natter means it's a chat, a talk, a discussion. Comes from the north of England and means incessant chatter. Tea time. In the south of England, there's lunch and dinner, usually taken about noon and 5 p.m. respectively. In the north of England, there's dinner and tea, usually taken at noon and 5 p.m. respectively. Never confuse these terms. All the tea in China. If someone says they won't part with a certain treasured item for all the tea in China, it means you have absolutely no chance of getting it, no matter what you offer. Originally an Australian saying, but now it belongs to the British. Tea room. They still exist. Used to be very popular in the earlier part of the 20th century, and now making a comeback. Not just tea, but they serve coffee too. Tea's made. A curious British contraption that found its way into boarding houses and bed and breakfast establishments in the 1970s. It basically made a pot of tea whilst you were sleeping and was ready for you when you woke. Disappeared at the same time as the electric blanket. Chapter 6. What you wearing? Britain, the land of embarrassment and breakfast. Julian Barnes. If you are a female and planning a night out with the girls, then it seems to be essential that you all agree on what you're going to wear that night. Even though we all want to be individual, it's far better to be part of a crowd and not attract attention, don't you agree? Hence the phrase of, what you wearing, is probably spoken at some time before the agreed meeting time. Can I use your lippy? This is simple, but might not seem it at first. Usually asked in the female toilets when a girl wants to add more lipstick and has lost hers. She doesn't have to know the person she's asking, especially if she's drunk too. But it's better to ask a friend. We live in a world of pandemics, remember? If you don't want to lend yours, just pretend you haven't heard. Jim jams. Basically a shortened or lengthier version of PJs or pyjamas. I'm going to put my gym jams on and go to bed. Why gym jams? Not got a clue. But it's more comforting than pyjamas. explaining something and taking a very long time about it. Just tell them to put a sock in it and they'll stop. It's pretty rude, but they're boring you. So what do? No other explanation needed. Trousers. It's what Americans call pants. Simple, really. Knickers. Female panties. Comes from knickerbockers and was the sole preserve of the 1970s British comedians who only had to say the word for the audience to wet their knickers with laughter. Whilst we're on the topic of knickers, to get your knickers in a twist is to wind someone up or get them overly frustrated, often over a practical joke. So we come to chapter 7, the same words, different meanings. My mind may be American, but my heart is British. T.S. Eliot. On the back of pants, or maybe the front, it's time to look at those words that are exactly the same but have totally different meanings. You've probably already silenced a dinner guest by making a comment about a woman's fanny, thinking you were talking about something rather different. So let's look at the others to save any international incidents. P.S. Check out chapters 8 and 10 and you'll understand. Pants. Yes, we have mentioned this, but pants in the UK also can mean underpants. The things you wear under your pants. Trousers. Jumper. Nope, it's not someone who's about to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge. It's a winter piece of clothing. A pullover. A sweater. Geezer. Male or friend here. Mate or friend here. Very old man in the USA. Could be the same if you're old too. Boot. Yes, it's an item of footwear here too, but we also call the empty thing at the back of the car a boot. The place where you throw all your old clothes and kids' bikes and garden stuff. Americans call it a trunk. A car book sale is somewhere you can buy all kinds of second-hand used stuff. You can also find used items in a second-hand shop. You never know, you might actually find something of value. As they say, one man's junk is another man's treasure. Rubber. In America, this is a condom. Our pencil eraser. How can they possibly have become any more different? First floor. Ground floor in the USA. Second floor in the UK. Work that one out. Chips. Surely the worst difference in the history of English. It's not crisps. You know the stuff you eat out of a packet with a can of bud, but big fat fries, fish and chips. Oh, for a bit of a history lesson here. Fish and chips were originally a French idea, and French fries are Belgian. Maybe don't think too much about this one. Coach. Becoming a bit more blurred with this one. A coach is a sports team manager, but here it also is a bus. I have to catch a coach to catch. It's one that will confuse Americans. Biscuit. A biscuit is a cookie, not a bread roll. Post. Not a wooden thing stuck in the ground, but the Royal Mail. Fag. I want a fag is not something you might hear publicly in the USA, but in Britain it refers to a cigarette. Remember this one next time you go to the pub. Chapter 8. Time. Everyone has time and no time. The time you enjoy wasting is not wasted time. Bertrand Russell. I like that quote. Donkey's years. A phrase that has been said incorrectly for, well, donkey's years. It's supposed to be donkey's ears, but someone misheard it. It means a very long time, but nobody has a clue as to why. Fortnight. It seems the Americans rarely use this term. What does it mean? It means 14 nights. But that is a lot to say, so we've shortened it to make it easier. Take your time. He doesn't half take his time. Not sure how you can take your time, but it means no, don't hurry. Actually, it rarely does, as it now mostly is said in a sarcastic manner. So hurry up. Fanny around. Okay, so the word fanny has completely different meanings in the USA as to the UK. You may want to refer to chapter 10. Fanny around means that you are wasting someone's time or doing nothing. Guess where it came from? The Royal Navy, of course. Faff around. The same as above. Faff used to mean wind, but now means nothing unless you add the around to it. A more modern term you'll hear a lot is dilly-dally. We like that one a lot because it sounds silly. Have you got the time? Interesting one, but it normally means you're being asked what time it is, and not if you have the time to do something, which may be a little less savoury, don't worry. Chapter 9. Money. Saving is a very fine thing, especially when your parents have done it for you. Winston Churchill. Ah, money, the root of all evil, and the one thing that no one appears to have enough of. In the UK, pounds and pence are still used, as the euro was never accepted, as indeed was belonging to the European Union either. If you'd arrived in the country at any time before 1970, though, then you'd have had to deal with pounds, shillings, pence, farthings and guineas. Even British people couldn't understand it, so be grateful that you're here now. Money is called all kinds of things in Britain. A wad of notes, dough, cash, dosh, bread, to name quite a few. Individual amounts get their own slang words. A quid is a £1 coin. A fiver is a £5 note. Tenner, a £10 note. A grand is £1,000. And loose change is the stuff that rattles around in your pockets and you don't mind giving away or losing. She's minted. This doesn't mean that he or she has a fondness for mints, but that they've got a lot of money and are able to afford a new car every year, usually said in a very, very jealous way. He or she's loaded. No drug connotation here. It's just the same as the above. He or she's broke. Exactly the opposite. The word broke comes from bankrupt, going for broke. Has nothing to do with money, by the way. It means I'm risking everything to get something. Then maybe it's got something to do with money after all. Knockoff. Basically it means it's a copy of an original, but sold at a far cheaper price. Happens regularly in the UK. He could sell ice to an Eskimo. As far as I'm aware, no one has ever tried to do this, and what would be the point anyway? The meaning is that the salesman woman is so good at their job that they could literally sell ice to an Eskimo. Try it and see how you get on. Nick. Yes, it's a name and short for Nicholas, but not here. It means to steal. When a UK TV cop grabs a thief, he'll say in a melodramatic way, "You're nicked, sunshine." Old Bill. Named after a cartoon character, Old Bill, now used to describe the police force, especially in London. Why? They used to spot moustaches that were exactly the same as the character. Not anymore. A run-in with the old bill. Here are a few tips should you find yourself in trouble with the old bill. They are not American cops. They won't point a gun at you unless absolutely necessary. They won't pin you to the ground and shout obscenities at you. They won't then sit in their cars and drink lots of coffee and eat large donuts. They will talk politely to you. They'll give you a ride in their car and chat about football and things. They'll apologise as they put you in a cell, especially if they aren't really sure why you're there. You'll get lots of tea, and if you don't like tea, drink it anyway, and try not to offend them. They'll almost certainly let you go and ask if you need a lift anywhere. What has any of this to do with money? Nothing really, but the word bill fits perfectly. Like everything, there are those unique British sayings when it comes to the unspeakable. Money. And we'll come back in another video and go from chapter 10. And that, my friends, will wrap up tonight's video and part 2 of Fancy A Cuppa, the hilarious pocket guide to British slang by Jeff Watson. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's relaxed you, or it's been of use to you some way. I hope you're all keeping well. Thank you again for watching, and hopefully I'll see you all again in the next one.